So, today's topic of the talk is Dharma and how to practice. Dharma is a word, Dharm, in Hindi we say Dharm, but when we write in English we call it Dharma. Dharm basically it has many connotations. I heard that it has 80 different connotations, for which we have no time to explain. But basically Dharma means a way of life, a practice which helps you not to fall down. It's very important, powerful. Dharan kare to dharma, dharan karna. So, in order to ensure that you do not fall down, गिरने से बचने के लिए, you need to do certain practices. So, therefore, when I use this word dharma, and also if you go to the root of this word dharma, which has a long history in India, the word dharma actually I think is not associated with any particular religion which we are talking about today. It is not talking about Hinduism, it is not talking about Buddhism, it is not talking about religion, any kind of religion. That is my understanding, I may be wrong. But my understanding, as I said, dharma has many meanings, out of which one of the most important meaning is dharma means law of nature. Then the question arises, why should we have dharma at all? The Vice Chancellor in his address used the word spirituality more than religion, which I appreciate very much. Some years back I attended a big international conference in Mexico, where there was a scientist, researcher, a scientist and a presenter who has written a book which was a comparative study of religion and spirituality. According to his research, he found spirituality more uniting, more beneficial than religion. So, that is why it is really interesting to go to the root of this word dharma, which I do not think has any connotation with the English word religion, that which we are using so much today. The original word dharma means really something like law of nature, which talks about universal values, which talks about all uniting factors and not the dividing ones. So, in today's time, in today's world, it is absolutely essential, it is not a luxury, but a necessity, that at least in the human world we must bring out those fundamental human qualities which will help us all live happily, peacefully and harmoniously. Today in the world we have so much suffering, so much division. All these divisions are based on superficial features. For our own benefit, it is important. We are not talking about past life or future life and things like that, which may be complicated. So, let us for the time being do not talk much about metaphysics, but let us talk about the physical reality. This is how physics also got separated from metaphysics, if you go to the history. So, my point is, in all my talks and speeches, I always right in the beginning tell people, I think this is very important. We need to be always aware and cognizant that we want happiness. मुझे खुशी चाहिए, I want happiness, do not want suffering. I have asked these questions to many places, to many people all over the world, and everybody says, yes, I want happiness, yes, I do not want suffering. So, that recognition must be there in all our lives. I want happiness, I do not want suffering. That is there, but unfortunately we forget. So, once you say that I want happiness, I do not want suffering, you also need to go to the second step, where you say I want not only happiness, but I want long lasting happiness. I do not want suffering of any kind. That is our inborn urge, inborn aspiration. I sometimes call it inborn slogan, मुझे खुशी चाहिए, लंबे अरसे तक चलने वाला खुशी चाहिए. We should make that kind of slogan. But the point is, it's not enough to say that I want long lasting happiness. The more important thing is, if you really want long lasting happiness, from where are you going to get it? From money? Yes, you need money, but I am talking about long lasting happiness. Long lasting happiness will not come from money, from name and fame, not even from your relatives. Relatives also, of course, many kinds, but I am talking about even the most beloved, kind relatives. Even from there, you can't get that long lasting happiness. So that we must realize very clearly, because at the end of the day, unless your mental attitude is correct, unless your way of thinking is correct, unless your inner world is correct, you won't get that long lasting happiness from outside. Doesn't matter you become Bill Gates or whatever, become very rich and live in the most pompous, comfortable areas and things like that. You won't get that happiness. If we take a minute and think about the present situation in the world, as far as material comfort is concerned, there is really much progress, unthinkable. Our being able to talk to each other visually or virtually, as if we are really sitting in one room, is amazing progress, of course. So there are many things which our forefathers could not have even dreamt. All those things are there. Now people are more than just virtual doing contact. They are now talking about megawords and many funny things. All these are something that we cannot stop. They will happen, it looks like. But I can watch and say that whatever scientific, technological marvelous progress may be there, but unless we human beings learn to live together, unless we human beings develop positive mental attitude, unless we transform ourselves, we are never going to get that long lasting happiness. I want to give you an example that is right now in front of us. We all suffered much during the last 2 years with this terrible pandemic. It is still not over. The mightiest of the mightiest, America, Russia, so forth, could not successfully deal with this invisible force, virus. At the same time, the destructive weapons, destructive nuclear bombs that these so-called big countries have gathered and now displaying today each other, threatening each other that if you do this, I will push this button, that button. I mean, you can see the insanity of human beings. It may not look good, I am a very small man, okay? But since you have given me the platform, I want to share this. And I hope people will learn a lesson from this. On the one hand, we are unable to deal with this small invisible virus which killed so many millions of people. If you are really great leader of the world, if you are really powerful, why can't you deal with these things? Instead, you are making all these destructive nuclear bombs. I call it madness, I call it insanity. I don't know how to stop it, but it is high time that we need to think about it. Mobilize our attitude and demilitarize the whole world. Then we can live. I regularly watch what is happening in the world. So recently in the news it is said that the mixing of hydrogen bomb and nuclear bomb, the power of one of that mixture is 3,330 times more than the hydrogen bomb that dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Imagine how much destruction even that hydrogen bomb dropped at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I visited that place. People are simply just melted. huge iron pillars were just simply melted. I have seen this, as if this is not enough. I don't know how to explain this. So all this, the machines did not come by itself. These are all invented by human mind. So the human mind is clever enough to invent so many things. So why can't we use this amazing intelligence for peace, for harmony, for education, for looking after the poor people, feeding the hungry people? Even in the so-called developed countries, I visited many of these countries, still there are so many poor people, uneducated people. The world's resources are now basically enjoyed by 11-12% of the population of the whole world, few rich people. So I don't want to talk much about it, but I want to really be serious. हम लोग हिंदी में बोलता है ना, हवा हवा में बात करने से कुछ फायदा होने वाला नहीं. So I am concerned, that's why I am talking about this. So now in this connection, to speak about Dharma and how to practice becomes relevant. Dharma, therefore, as I said, basically it has many meanings, but one is it could refer to law of nature. It could refer to the spiritual path that we practice. So it is by practicing certain spiritual path that you will actualize that final fruit. If you are Buddhist, you call it the Buddha's body, or what is symbolized by Om that you recited in your prayer. So even in the case of the word Om, the word Om is a combination of 3 letters, A, O, Ma. So A, O, Ma has 2 tiers of meaning. One, A, O, Ma means the exalted body, speech and mind of the enlightened beings, the Buddha or whoever. The second level of the meaning of Om is my body, my speech and my mind. So if you want to become Buddha, if you want to become enlightened and achieve those exalted body, speech and mind, then you need to change and transform your body, speech and mind. So that process of transforming the body, speech and mind, especially transforming the unruly mind, if you do that, you are practicing Dharma. Practice of Dharma is not so much about how many times you visit mandir or masjid or temple. It is not how many agarbatis and deeps that you burn. Ordinary people's way of doing Dharma is visiting the temple, offering some flowers, as if all the work has to be done by the God, and you don't have to. You just offer something, and then everything will be, resolved. That's our ordinary people's way of practice, based on ignorance. I am not against anybody going to temple or offering flowers. That is of course good. It's good. But what is more important is dharan kare to dharma, as I said, transforming your mind. If you want peace, we all say we want peace, we want happiness. And what is it that destroys our peace? It's not so much about the external enemy. The external environment, yes, makes some contribution, but the real enemy is inside each of us. Anger, jealousy, hatred, pride, arrogance, impatience. There are hundreds of negative emotions within us. That destroys our peace. That destroys our harmony. If you don't believe, I'll give you one example. For example, anger. We all get angry, right? Because of this, because of that, we all get angry. But is there anybody who will say, today I was very angry, therefore I enjoyed the day? I'm challenging you. There's nobody who will say that today I was very angry, I was mad, therefore I was very happy. No. And also there is nobody who right in the morning makes a motivation saying that today I will get angry. No. But we do get angry when we encounter provoking situations, difficult occasions. We get angry. But as I said, once you get angry, your blood pressure increases. So to get angry means to increase your blood pressure. Is there something that you want? Of course not. When you get angry, you become ugly. Do you want to become ugly? I don't think so. Women, they make, use lot of cosmetics, Men also, they comb their hair and, make sure their collars are right and things like that. We all want to be a presentable, nice person. And you become handsome, you become beautiful, not just external decoration, but when your mind is in peace, when your mind is calm, then the blood circulation will be proper. When the blood circulation is proper, the blood goes throughout your body, including your face. Then your cheeks also become reddish. You see? Your eyes will also become shine out because of inner tranquility and peace. That is the best way of beautifying yourself, ornamenting yourself. If you are deprived of these inner good qualities, doesn't really matter, however much, external cosmetics and other things you put on, you will never become a presentable or handsome or beautiful woman. So if you want to become handsome and beautiful, inner peace. If you want to get good sleep, how can you sleep properly? If you have hatred, anger, thinking about somebody, who has bothered you, then you don't get proper sleep also. If you have nobody as your enemy, if you have not harmed anybody, never said anything wrong, at least for a day, you can sleep peacefully. So that improves your health, that prolongs your life, that brings more friendship. So these are actually common sense, but unfortunately we most of the time we don't think about this easily understandable things. We go for complicated things, and never relate to it our life. So therefore, what I am really saying is we need to make it a point in the university, your university, because your university is a peace university. If it makes sense, then you can also, based on my talks, you can also put some new posters saying that I want happiness, I want long lasting happiness, as a reminder for the students or everybody who visits this university. And then ask the question from where that long lasting happiness will come. So let them think about it, right? So that way, then from that, what we find now basically is two things in our life. In our life, we have positive emotions and also negative emotions. Positive emotions must be promoted, must be strengthened. Negative emotions must be destroyed or at least lessened. If you do that properly, whichever religion you say you belong to, there is no difference. Whichever religion you say you belong to, you are a good practitioner. If you don't do that, whichever religion you say you belong to, you are not a practitioner, right? Because whether it is Buddha, whether it is God, whether it is your teacher, whoever they are, I don't think anybody will say that you should get angry all the time, you should fight with all the time. Of course, these days in the name of God, people are fighting and killing each other. Unfortunately, big misunderstanding. So therefore, the point that I want to live for the benefit of all of you, which I want you to do further research and see what I said has any relevance or not. If you find it is relevant, then practice. That is my purpose. If you don't practice and then just continue to have all this series of talks and teachings, I mean it's a human way that you have to do something, करने के लिए कर रहा है, लेकिन फायदा नहीं होगा, आदमी बदलेगा नहीं. People will never change. So I want you to change. I want you become better or happier. So therefore, make a clear distinction between positive emotions and negative emotions, and make a long list according to your understanding, positive emotions, negative emotions. So under positive emotions you will have loving kindness, you will have compassion, patience, tolerance, forgiveness, and then under negative emotion you have anger, jealousy, hatred and many more. So write all of this, then make a thorough study of each of these emotions. Why anger is negative? because anger also sometimes give you some protection. When people bully you, get angry, you feel that you got some strength and then you are able to fight, but that strength that you got is blind energy, it is not real strength, right. So you should do this, and then especially in the beginning, because we all have many negative emotions and you cannot reduce or you cannot eliminate all of them at one go. So what is important is, out of these many negative emotions, recognize one negative emotion which has a predominant presence in you, which has been bothering you for a long time. Recognize that emotion, like anger for example. If anger is predominant in your case, then recognize that anger, and then recall the times when anger created suffering, when anger created deviation, when anger created misery, and then make a promise that I will now make my best attempt to reduce that anger. So all these negative emotions are like addictions. We are addicted to it. Addiction of any kind is destructive, whether it's addiction of drinking or addiction of smoking or whatever, it gradually seizes your brain and you become addicted and follow that habit, which is difficult to give up, right. So unless you make some effort, you will not be able to change. So Dharma means to change, to transform from negative to the positive. This one point. Okay. Now with regard to the second point, meditation. Many people, they think meditation means closing the eye and sitting in a corner. And you do see people sitting like that. And today in many countries, like especially in the West, the word meditation and mindfulness are very famous, very popular. They are hitting the headlines of Newsweek or Times and so forth, right. Even in 5-star hotels now meditation and mindfulness are taught, probably for making money, whatever be the reason. In the West, many places people work very hard in the day, and having worked very hard in the day, they get quite tired, and in the evening they go to one of the Dharma centers and sit there peacefully, and after a few minutes they doze off, and because they have been sleeping after that period of so-called meditation where they actually went to sleep, they will get up and say, wow, the meditation is so peaceful. That is not meditation, it is peaceful because you are sleeping. So that is not meditation. Meditation will sharpen your mind, it will not make your mind dark, right. So number one point, very important point that I want you to remember is, meditation basically means getting habituated. Getting habituated. Habituated with what? With negative emotions? No, because with negative emotions we are strongly habituated. With anger, very strongly habituated. Jealousy, habituated. उसमें और पढ़ाई करने का जरूरत नहीं है, right. So therefore habituation means habituation with the positive ways of life, positive ways of thinking. Compassion इतना जोर नहीं है, कमजोर है अभी. Loving kindness में भी इतना ताकत नहीं है. So in these positive qualities you need to get habituated. Habituated, we are using the word habituate, क्योंकि unless you do it repeatedly, you will not be able to do it. I mean, look at the athletes, who participate in Olympics. कितना अभ्यास करना पड़ता है उनको to get that money or to reach that place. I mean, I can't imagine how hard they work. Now with the spiritual practice, क्या कर रहे हैं हम लोग? कुछ भी नहीं कर रहा है. Honestly speaking, in today's world, I mean, there are some people who are doing, but generally speaking, we are all concerned about day-to-day activities, the business, work, and then at the end of your month, your salary. I want to say two things here. Right in the beginning, we started that we want long-lasting happiness. When we say long-lasting happiness, we are basically talking about long-lasting happiness for the person. Now, who is the person? There is the philosophical question, very difficult. I can't explain right now. Maybe on the third day, maybe a little bit about that. So it is enough to say that I want long lasting happiness for my body and for my mind. Now, for the body, you may not be doing it properly, but at least you are making some attempt. Khana bhi khila raha hai, jogging bhi kar raha hai, at least you are doing some stretching exercises, yogas and meditation, whatever, you are doing a little bit. I'm saying that here also we are not very good, okay? We are not doing really much, but at least we are doing something. Now, for the mind, what are you doing, or what we have been doing? Almost equal to zero, nothing much. For the body, you have been feeding it at least 4 or 5 times in a day. Nashta, lunch, dinner, in between Kit Kat, cup pyala chai, so many things you do. But for the mind, kya khilaya aapne? This is important point. So much of the problem that we see in the world today is clear indication of starvation of mind. Clear indication of starvation of mind. All the destructive things that we are seeing around the world is clear indication of starvation of the mind, meaning that the mind has never been fed with positive qualities. It has always been fed negative things, and as a result you become a negative leader, negative person, and think about only division, destruction and so forth, your own name, fame, prestige and so forth. That is our human tragedy which we are experiencing today. So I want to make it loud and clear. So therefore, if we genuinely want long lasting peace, not just for talking, not as a political propaganda, but if you genuinely long lasting peace, happiness, then the only way is to change your attitude, transform your emotion from negative to the positive. And that you can do just as we do in the election. आजकल 5 स्टेट में election चल रहा है ना, 5 states elections are going on. So like that. So in that election, who will become the chief minister? Individually you have not much power because it depended upon the election outcome of so many people. But there is one more interesting election that you can do individually where you don't have to depend upon any other. So now in this election what you need to do is, there are only two parties. The parties of the positive emotion, parties of the negative emotion. So किसको जिताना है आपने? Out of these two parties, which one you want to win? Of course the positive party. Now presently look at your situation. Presently the negative emotion party has actually won a landslide majority, and it has already captured the headquarter of your mind. आपके सिर में the self cherishing attitude and the self grasping, two very strong negative emotions like president and prime minister, they are already in your headquarter, and there nobody is challenging. They are relaxing, they are relaxing there comfortably and sending all their troops of anger, jealousy, hatred all around to bring suffering and destruction. So now you need to dethrone, usko gade se nikalna hai, dethrone these negative emotions, including the bosses, the self cherishing attitude and the ignorance, and enthrone the positive emotions. It should now be replaced by two things primarily. Out of many negative emotions, positive emotions, the two main bosses of positive emotions are good heart and good head. Dil or dimag ka santulan. Good heart and good head. Good head means a head which has the wisdom that sees the reality as it is. प्रज्ञा बोलते हैं ना हम लोग, प्रज्ञा, wisdom that sees the reality, वो होना चाहिए यहाँ, sharpness that sees the law of nature properly, and that must be supported by heart. That means sense of responsibility, loving kindness, compassion and so forth. So these two must go together in every human activities. whether you are a teacher or a student or a housewife or whoever you are, a religious practitioner, whoever you are, your head and heart must be balanced. In today's world, we have many people who are very, very intelligent, but don't have the wisdom. They are smart, of course, but their intelligence gets corrupted. We call it corrupted intelligence, which is then used for making nuclear bombs, which is then used for creating many problems, then solving the problems. So now we need that wisdom that sees the law of nature. Now when I talk about the wisdom seeing the law of nature, the greatness with the law of nature is, law of nature does not discriminate. Like for example, if there is an earthquake, the earthquake will never make any discrimination, saying that I will only shake and destroy the Tibetans and not the Chinese, or destroy the Chinese, not Tibetans, or not Indians. It will never say like this. Whoever happens to be in that earthquake zone, they will all be shaken equally. Destruction will also be more or less equal. And then also this pandemic, the virus, COVID-19 virus, is also kind of law of nature. Did it make it discrimination? It went everywhere. America, China, Russia, India, everywhere. Did not make discrimination. It is us, the stupid human beings, the narrow-minded human beings, who are very good in making this discrimination. This is Indian and not Tibetan, this is not Tibetan, not Indian. We make discriminations, and there is no room for discrimination actually, if you look carefully. All these so-called superficial differences are man-made differences. When we are born, we are all born in the same way. When we are born, the first thing we do is crying. Everybody, Indian child, American child, Tibetan child, Russian child, the first thing that the child does is crying. By crying, the child is saying, I want somebody's love, care. That child is not saying, I want destructive nuclear bomb. And that child has no religion at that time. That child has spirituality. So spirituality, which can be shared with everybody, is more universal. His Holiness the Dalai Lama, because my talk is connected to His Holiness chair in your university. So His Holiness the Dalai Lama is most of the time talks about spirituality, something that is applicable to everybody. And nowadays, as you are very clear, nowadays he is talking so much about secular ethics, universal values. It's so important. We are so short-sighted, We came into this world, as I said, crying. Then how long are we going to live? Maximum 100 years. So during this 100 or so years, is it for fighting? Is it for killing others? Definitely not. It is for peace, it is for harmony, it is for enjoying. Right? So therefore, we must understand this universal law of nature, the interdependent connection, the interrelated nature, and help each other, share each other. Don't highlight the differences, highlight sameness. Right? So therefore, meditation basically, as I said, means to get habituated with the positive emotions. It is by strengthening the positive emotions, reducing the negative emotions. You may look the same person externally, but once you bring that transformation within yourself, you have created a world of peace. And I am glad that your university probably is one very unique university whose very title has this word, Peace University. I really very thankful to the founder. I had the privilege of talking to university earlier also, and this is, I think, my second time. So this is wonderful, this is great. So therefore, I am sure you will focus more on not only bringing peace in the campus, but promoting that peace a peace which is universally applicable, a peace for which no particular doctrine is needed. Individually, yes, if you feel a particular religion is more powerful, go for it, but that also not through blind faith, through using human discernment, capacity to judge. This is very important. The one very distinctive quality with human being comparing to other animals is this very sharp brain, this sharp intelligence. So, if we do not use this intelligence, then we are not different from other animals. Other animals also, they can also fight negative, they also have very strong negative emotions, right. So, therefore, meditation means getting habituated with the positive emotions. So, in order to promote that positive emotions, the promotion and cultivation of positive emotions will not come just by praying. Just for example, just by praying you will never become rich. To become rich, yes, you can pray if that makes you comfortable, but more than the praying, you need to work hard. You need to have good education, good knowledge, then you can become rich, then you can become powerful, not just prayer. So, similarly, in bringing about cultivating this inner positive emotions also, one has to work hard by seeing the benefit of the positive emotions to you and to many others. And once you work hard, then we can also become like Buddha. At least from the Buddhist viewpoint, everybody can become a Buddha, there is no difference. Everybody has the Buddha nature. Buddha was not enlightened right in the beginning, he was also like you and me. But the only difference was he was able to see the positive emotions from the negative emotions and worked hard to purify himself from the negative emotions. Once he is without these negative emotions and once he developed all the positive emotions, he was able to develop all this clairvoyance and super intelligence and all those things by which he is not only able to teach, but he is able to read people's lives, not only this life, but many lives. And according to their need, then he is able to give a teaching which is suitable to them. And that is possible. That is possible. So, therefore, to start, we need to number one, listen. So, process of getting habituated, number one, you need to listen, read reliable books and also listen to qualified teachers. That is first step. The second step is, having read the book, having listened to the teaching, because it is in the book, it is not necessarily the correct one. Because a teacher has said it, it may not necessarily be the correct one. Teachers are also of many kinds, books are also of many kinds. You can listen, you can read, but after then use your intelligence, how much sense this teaching makes, whether it seems to be true or not based on your personal experience. Think more about it, analyze it, judge it, and then gradually if you are able to see the correctness of the teaching, and then you will be able to develop the conviction, yes, this is true. So, you have already made a lot of progress. Then after that, it is not enough to say this is true, but now you need to meditate, that means do it repeatedly, that is meditation, get habituated, right. And through that way, there are many people I have seen who at certain particular time of the age may be very hot tempered, angry person, but because of undertaking these Dharma practices, they gradually change and become very kind person. I have seen number of such people. So, that means it is possible. It is possible. We need to do it. So, my time is nearly over. So, almost like a takeaway, Dharma means Dharma means to transform yourself, change yourself through listening, thinking and meditation. And the reason that you need to do is because we all want happiness, do not want suffering. Okay. If you want suffering, then go for negative emotions. If you want happiness, then go for positive emotions. इसमें cheating नहीं चलता है. Many people, sometimes to stop us doing bad things. The government has police and army and so many things. इनको तो cheating कर सकता है, we can cheat them. But law of nature you can't cheat. In Buddhism we use the word law of causality. Law of causality you can't cheat. For example, death. Now if I have lot of money and my health is good and I have nice doctors around, so I will pretend that I will never die. But is it possible that you will never die? Even if you are the richest person in the world, surrounded by the best of the doctors in the world, surrounded by best of relatives, caring relatives and friends around the world, but so far there is not a single person who did not die. So that's law of nature, you can't cheat. Change is law of nature, you can't cheat, you can't make things not change. Right? So therefore, right in the beginning, I started my talk by saying that Dharma basically refers to law of nature. So practicing Dharma, in a more simpler way of explaining, practicing Dharma means living your life in accordance with the law of nature. Law of nature is interconnected. Law of nature is impermanent. Law of nature is change. Right? So accept those laws of nature. These laws of nature are universal, laws. These universal laws of nature are written in the rocks, in the trees, in the human beings, everywhere. Trees will change, human beings will change, trees will decay, human beings will die, and things like that. So once you understand that, for example, how by understanding that will make an impact in your life. I'll give you one example, then I'll stop. For example, if you understand impermanence properly, of course about this I am talking on the third day, but there is no harm in saying that right now. For example, if you truly understand that all people are going to die, सिर्फ बोलने के लिए नहीं, not only for talking, but if you deeply realize that all people are going to die. Once you develop this conviction, all people are going to die, you will never think about harming them. For example, if there is a person here who is dying today, why should you harm that person? Why should you develop any negative emotion to that person? So exactly like that, right? So therefore, once you understand this law of nature or Dharma properly, then transformation will take place. And the process of transformation is regular practice. So at least in our so-called busy life, at least make it a point to meditate at least 5-10 minutes to start with. Then gradually you can prolong the time. At least 5-10 minutes you should meditate. Even if you are able to sit quiet for 5-10 minutes every morning, that's a big that's a big step, because in today's world the problem is people don't know how to live alone, which we have seen during the COVID, and also don't know how to live with others. Right? You should know one. You should be good in one of these things. Either you should know how to live alone, or you should know how to live with others. When it comes to living with others, it's not physically being together. It means having love, having respect. Right? So therefore, properly understanding Dharma will have a very transformative practice. So practice of Dharma in that sense is not a luxury, but a necessity. All right, I'll stop here. Thank you.